From the lobby, a cinema looks like a place that sells tickets and popcorn. But the economics are very different from owning a normal retail shop. A theater owner is usually an exhibitor, not the studio that made the movie. You are renting screens, filling seats, and trying to turn foot traffic into cash after the distributor takes a large cut of the box office. Welcome to Plain Money. I am Finn. In the next 10 minutes, I will explain how owning a cinema actually makes money, why popcorn matters more than the ticket stub, and why empty seats can still cost you even when the marquee looks busy. Let us start with the basic business model. A cinema collects ticket revenue from audiences, then pays a film rental to the distributor. The theater also sells concessions, advertising on screens, and sometimes event bookings. Against that income sit rent, utilities, payroll, cleaning, equipment, insurance, and marketing. The goal on paper is simple. Keep enough of the ticket money, and earn enough on snacks and ads, to cover a building that is expensive to run whether the auditorium is full or half empty. The first surprise for beginners is the box office split. Ticket money is not mostly yours. In many deals, the distributor takes a high share early in a film's run, sometimes around 90% of ticket revenue above a house nut, or a high floor percentage in week 1. As weeks pass, the theater's share often improves. That is why long-running hits can be more valuable to exhibitors than one huge opening weekend that fades fast. Think of the house nut as a negotiated allowance for the theater's operating costs. Contracts can be complex, with sliding scales, floors, and best weeks clauses. The exact numbers vary by film, market, and bargaining power. The beginner takeaway is enough: tickets fund the show, but studios claim a big piece of that pie, especially when a movie is new and demand is hottest. Over a full run, many operators talk about a blended theater share that can land closer to 40 or 50% of box office, not the opening week headline. The blend depends on how long the film holds, how strong weeknights are, and how tough the deal was. One weekend number never tells the whole story. That brings us to concessions. Popcorn, soda, candy, and nachos are not a cute side hustle. They are often the profit engine. Distributors generally do not share concession revenue the way they share tickets, partly because snacks are hard to attribute across multiple screens in a multiplex. High margins on food and drink can turn a modest attendance night into a workable night, and a packed night into a strong one. Per head math makes this clearer. Not every guest buys snacks, but the ones who do often spend a lot relative to the cost of goods. Industry operators have long noted that concession profit can carry a large share of the theater's real earnings even when tickets look like the main product. The ticket gets people in the door. The concession stand is where much of the margin lives. Screen advertising is another revenue line. Pre-show ads, trailer packages, and local sponsorships can add income without selling another seat. Event cinema, private rentals, and special programming can help on soft weeks when Hollywood releases are weak. A theater that only waits for tentpoles is more fragile than one that diversifies the calendar. Now the cost side. Occupancy costs are heavy: rent or mortgage, property taxes, insurance, HVAC for large auditoriums, and constant cleaning. These bills arrive whether Friday is sold out or Tuesday is quiet. A theater can look glamorous on the marquee and still be a fixed cost machine underneath. Fixed costs are the silent villain of exhibition. Labor and equipment sit on top of that. Box office, concessions, ushers, managers, and security all need payroll. Projectors, sound systems, seats, and digital cinema gear need capital and maintenance. Guests notice sticky floors and broken recliners long before they notice your film rental percentage. That is why operators obsess over staffing schedules and show count discipline. Occupancy rate is the capacity story. A cinema rarely fills every seat at every show. Average occupancy can look surprisingly low once you add weekday matinees and late shows. A packed Saturday night can hide a soft Monday. More screens can raise total admissions, but they also raise staffing and facility costs, and average occupancy per screen can fall. More screens is not automatically more profit. It is more capacity to fill, and capacity without demand is just expensive empty space. Programming is strategy, not just taste. Booking the right mix of wide releases, holdovers, family titles, and niche films affects both ticket volume and snack sales. A weak slate of movies can hurt a well-run theater through no fault of the manager. Exhibitors live downstream of Hollywood's release calendar, which means your P&L can swing with someone else's marketing machine. Premium formats change the math. IMAX, luxury recliners, reserved seating, and dine-in concepts raise ticket prices and can lift per capita spend. They also raise build-out costs and operating complexity. Premium is a bet that higher revenue per guest will cover higher capital and service costs. It works in some markets and fails in others. Competition is not only the theater across town. Streaming, living room screens, and home popcorn change the habit of going out. Theaters that win often sell an experience: big screen, social night, comfort, and snacks you will not recreate at home for the same feeling. The product is not only the film file. It is the outing. Who owns cinemas today? Chains, private operators, and sometimes real estate-heavy owners. The brand on the marquee may be a circuit, while the building lease sits with a landlord. That separation matters. A bad lease can crush a theater even when attendance is decent, because rent is due whether the distributor sent a hit or a dud. Debt and renovations matter too. Seats wear out. Projection standards change. CapEx can be lumpy. A theater bought with heavy leverage and deferred maintenance can look busy on Friday night and still struggle on the annual cash flow statement. Attendance is necessary. It is not sufficient if the capital stack is wrong. Risk concentrates in a few places. Film rental terms, soft release weeks, rising labor and rent, and attendance shocks. A pandemic-style shutdown is extreme, but even a string of weak titles can squeeze cash. Liquidity, flexible programming, and a lease you can survive help more than hoping every weekend is a blockbuster. What should you take away as a beginner? A cinema is a high fixed-cost venue business wrapped around a revenue share ticket contract. Studios take a large cut of box office early. Concessions and ads often save the margin. Empty seats still cost money. The marquee sells movies. The P&L sells snacks, seats filled, and cost control. If you remember only one line, remember this: tickets fill the room, popcorn pays the bills. Your week 1 exercise is simple. Next time you buy a ticket, ask 3 questions. About how much of that ticket might leave for the distributor? What did the average guest spend at concessions? Which fixed costs keep running even if the auditorium is half full? Stop thinking like a moviegoer and start thinking like an exhibitor. If this helped, subscribe to Plain Money for more beginner-friendly explainers on money, business, and real assets. Comment with the cinema near you that still feels packed on weekends. Watch our retail and real estate basics videos next. The goal is to understand what you are really paying for when the lights go down.